Welcome to my ranking of Superman films. I've got 7 films on my list today. I'm not enough of a Superman fanatic to have included any animated films. I did watch an animated Superman film when I was a kid. My dad rented it for me. It was like some kind of Superman anthology with 3 different cartoons on the same tape. Me and my brother watched it about 5 or 6 times in this one weekend. I wish I knew what the name of that was actually, so I could hunt it down for a bit of nostalgia. But no animation, no Justice League, because I only wanted to include films where Superman is the focal point or close to being the focal point. And in Justice League, it's a 4-hour movie and he's only really in the final hour. If this was a Batman rankings, I probably would have included Justice League. But not today, no Shazam either, and no Supergirl. So let's get into it and find out what is my 7th and therefore least favourite Superman movie. This is probably one of the best films I've ever put bottom of a ranking because it's not that bad. I know some of the special effects are a bit ropey and the budget wasn't what it should have been, but it's good cheesy fun. I go back to it sort of every few years. I guess you could argue that it's a poor man's Superman 2. You know, Superman 2 had 3 godlike villains. This film has just the one, but I love the Nuclear Man concept. He's so funny with his glum expression and his long fingernails that produce electricity. I like the new love interest of Superman, Lacey, and that whole subplot with the Daily Planet, though it's a bit disappointing that they don't really address what happened to the Lana character after Superman 3. This film came out when I was in primary school, and I can vividly remember being sat in class and, you know, the boys would be talking about who had seen Superman 4 at the cinema and who hadn't. And if you were one of those people who said you had, you were liable to be called a liar or a bullshitter. It's just the way kids were at that age. Gene Hackman's a lot of fun in this film, and if Christopher Reeve was unhappy behind the cameras, then he doesn't show it in front of the cameras. He's in top form as normal. So it might be bottom today, but I still like Superman 4. It's such a nostalgia trip for me. This is one which gets a bit of a hard rap. I mean, I've heard many people discuss this as if it's a major climb down after Superman 2, but I think it's just more of a gentle downgrade after number 2. This film has a lot of the biggest highs in the series. I love the fight at the scrapyard. It's so great. I always find myself rooting for Superman, even though I know that Clark Kent is actually the real Superman. I think I'm just enjoying the bad Superman so much by this point. I just want him to carry on. And I love the fight with the killer computer at the end. It's such a nice change up after the finale we get in Superman 2. The bit where the woman becomes the killer robot thing, that used to freak me out when I was a kid. And I even love the bit where the bad guy, I forget his name, uses some kind of video game setup to fire rockets at Superman. It's so much fun. So why is this film so low? Well, mainly because of Richard Pryor. Now, I'm not saying that Richard Pryor is bad in this film, but there's just too much of him. I mean, this film could have been called Superman and Gus. When I was a kid, I don't think I noticed the fact that he's in it a lot, that much, but I certainly notice it now. There's a bit where he makes the red man attack the green man on a traffic light. And I've got a vague memory from when I was a kid of discussing this with someone at school. I was probably like, oh, did you see that bit where the red man attacks the green man? That's so funny, isn't it? I didn't actually talk like that at school, but I don't find little bits like that funny anymore. I just sit there thinking, should we be watching this much Gus? And isn't there a bit where his boss sends him to this distant computer office and it just happens to be in Smallville? I mean, how many towns like Smallville are there in the United States? About 1 billion, so it's a bit of a bad plot contrivance. Although I do like the subplot where Superman sort of goes back to his reunion in Smallville. I thought that was a cool little diversion from the main story. On the whole, I do really like Superman 3. They don't make them like this anymore. This was my least favourite as a kid, probably because it doesn't have any of the fancy villains or killer computers or people doing extravagant ski jumps off buildings. It is an origin story that likes to take its time. I've not come to appreciate this film properly, really, until well into adulthood. I bought the Blu-ray for it a couple of years ago, and I was surprised to find that there's an extended cut on the disc. I watched that with interest. I've got to say, they've put way too much filler back into the movie. I don't think they found the best version for this even today. I mean, I think the best version is probably somewhere between the theatrical cut and the extended cut in terms of runtime, but certainly if I had to pick between the two, next time I'm going for the theatrical cut. But this is a great film and a very important one, I think, in terms of the whole history of superhero films. This one only just beats the original, mainly because of those issues to do with the different cuts that the original has. No such worries with Superman Returns. It's fine as it is, as it was released. It's a very good film, this. It's a very generic kind of play it safe sort of Superman film, maybe. Although perhaps that's just the sort of film we needed after 20 years of not getting one. I do think Brendan Ruth is a very good Superman, easily as good as any of the other Superman actors, in my opinion. I think Kate Bosworth was an excellent Lois Lane. Not so keen on Kevin Spacey for various reasons, but the setup with the giant yacht is excellent, and I like all the stuff to do with the Kryptonite Island thing that springs up. This film gets grittier in its second half than perhaps its reputation would tell you, and it would have been very interesting to see what this group of characters would have gotten up to had they gotten more than just the one film. And so we've arrived at my personal favourite of the Christopher Reeve ones. This is the one I probably watched the most when I was a kid, and the main reason for that is its villains. The villains in this are incredible. My personal favourite of that trio was always the mute guy. I don't know why, but there are so many great segments in this. The stuff in Paris, the stuff on the moon, Lex Luthor in the White House, the big battle in the streets, that incredible finale when Superman tricks the villains. There's that subplot where Superman loses his powers and he gets into a fight with a trucker. And then there's the whole subplot with Lewis finding out his true identity. This movie is just packed with so much good stuff. Funnily enough, I've never seen the Donner cut. I have it. It's on my copy of the film on Blu-ray. I could watch it right now, but I never do. Every time I sit down to watch this film, because I like the theatrical cut so much, I always think, not today. I'll just stick with what I know. I don't even know what's on the Donner cut. It's not an extended version. It's a shorter version, I believe, than the theatrical. So God knows what they even did with that to make it so different. At some point, I'll give it a shot. But to conclude here, Superman 2 is the dog's bollocks. And so we arrive at Zack Snyder. Some people love him, some people hate him. I absolutely love him and want to have his children and his grandchildren. This film changed my religious beliefs. No, seriously, this film probably got me back into watching superhero films for the first time in years, because I just went through a massive phase in my 20s where I just didn't bother with this genre, but Man of Steel got me back into it. And that was what led me to starting to check out Marvel films, because I don't think I watched any Marvel films before 2014. And now I'm like a big fan. And I now watch the other DC films as well. And it all leads back to this. Watching this film was incredible for me. It was like riding some kind of roller coaster simulator. You're going absolutely everywhere. It's just the most incredibly filmed spectacle. It's just absolutely awesome. I don't mind the fact that it's all kind of dark and moody. I know some people do. Being a horror guy, I'm naturally inclined towards depressing stuff, so I don't mind that at all. And this film has the best Lois Lane of all, I've got to say that as well. I never would have thought it possible that somebody could be better than Kate Bosworth, but that is exactly what happened here. Amy Adams is absolutely terrific. So is, I forget the name of the guy who plays Superman now, never mind. Man of Steel is absolutely amazing, but it's not my number one. Let's find out what that is. Batman vs Superman is number one. Ironically, this is the only film on today's list which is not a solo Superman film, but I've always loved the Batman character as well. Batman and Superman are probably my two favourite DC characters. In fact, they might actually be my two favourite superhero characters across DC and Marvel. Although, let me just say that I do think that the Marvel universe is the better series of films overall. There's too many inconsistencies within the DC universe, too many kind of mediocre films, but I'm totally digressing here. Batman vs Superman. I even enjoyed this film when it was just the theatrical cut. There are people who don't like this film, period. There are also a big group of people who are like, well, I didn't really like the theatrical, but I saw the extended version, and then yeah, I could sort of see what he was going for. I liked it when it was just the theatrical cut, so I was obviously going to like the extended one as well. The reason why I've got this ahead of Man of Steel, I think it's just a great story. You've got all these subplots that slowly come together for the finale. Man of Steel is probably the better action film. It's more of an adrenaline ride, but the 3 hours in Batman vs Superman, they go by so fast. It's just an absolute treat, this movie, and a worthy #1 for me. Do let me know yours in the comments, but for now I will bid you adieu. This was my Superman rankings. Farewell.